Okay, so today's video. This is in the vault, so you can watch this whenever, but this video is going to be all on tips for filming and editing and creating reels, since that's like the newest set of video content that is super popular right now. This could be applied to TikTok. I was personally just creating reels and then sharing them to TikTok for a while. I got a bit of an initial boost of people looking at the videos, and then it tapered out around to 100 to 200 views every single video that I was just repurposing, but keeping in mind that I wasn't exactly like hopping on trends and stuff on TikTok, so might be a reason why there's a little bit lower reach. But my reels on Instagram are consistently getting like 1 to 5K views on every single one that I post, so I have just decided to stick with Instagram reels. I'm not like repurposing them to TikTok at this time, but just in the process of like playing around with them, I've gotten a couple of tips that might make it a little bit easier for you if you're looking to incorporate reels into your marketing strategy on Instagram or TikTok. So the first thing that's really beneficial is to never start from scratch. Something that I do when I'm just on Instagram, like during my business hours for like commenting and sharing things, is I will go through my Reels tab and just like listen to a couple of them, and if I like any of them, then I will save the audio on them. I'll do a little screenshot or like a screen share of how I save the audios for you guys so that I can add that into this, so you can see exactly how I do it. It would be awesome if I had the time to categorize them. This isn't something that I currently do, but I know that Stephanie Case has a product which it's like 100 Reels ideas, and it's actually categorized by type of reel. But things that I would categorize them into if I had the time to like sort out my saved audios would be instrumental music that I like, lip syncs to do, and like taking your own spin on them, transformation of before and afters, like audios that lend themselves well to transformation, video effects. I don't really do a lot of video effects. I feel like it's a lot of time to edit them and to get them to line up really well. So this isn't something that I actually personally do a lot, but could be another category. And then the last category could be like trends, which kind of falls in line with that, slash saving specific audios. So that's kind of my whole like save audios, save ideas that you have for reels somewhere so that you can reference it when you go to make a reel so that you're not starting from scratch. My second tip is to tie in your reel into whatever product or service it is that you're offering and marketing. And so for me, I'm a wedding photographer, but I'm pivoting into brand photography and education. So all of my reels are kind of around those two things, like either brand photography or education. So if you're a wedding photographer, like you want to make sure your reels are specific to your clients that you're trying to attract and to market to. So a couple ways to do this is, one, make sure that your reel is speaking to your specific type of audience. And I think there is some leeway on this, and I'll chat about that a little bit later. But make sure that it like aligns with the type of people you're trying to attract. To have it be something that's engaging, funny, or sparks a conversation with those types of people. 3, you can make it educational. So like a resource or a tip for your ideal audience is always really helpful and does well. I feel like this type of info kind of almost goes better in a normal post, but I've also seen some reels blow up that are like, here's how to do blah blah blah, or like, here's what you should consider for blah blah blah. And another category that you can use or like think about and brainstorm within is like things that are inspirational. People love inspirational content. They also love getting to know you and your story, and kind of the behind the scenes of your life. So maybe it's like something funny about like your life as being a wedding photographer. People love to like see that because like they're not wedding photographers themselves, and they're curious as to like what life like that looks like. So those are like just some of the different categories that you want to think about when you're creating reels, and making sure that you're funneling all of this through like who is your ideal audience that you want to see and like attract through your reels. So another thing to think about is if you're somebody who promotes maybe 2 different types of services. So in the past, I was a wedding photographer and I also did senior photography. If that's the case, I think it's totally fine to have those 2 separate audiences, but then like maybe based on your season of like, okay, it's the winter, so you are going to be primarily marketing to brides because that's when they're getting engaged. then during the winter time you would have more reels that are like speaking to that specific audience, versus maybe you're booking a lot of your seniors in the spring, then like springtime you want to focus your reels content on seniors. I think it's totally okay if you have multiple types of offerings. It's just helpful when you are aligning the reels that you're posting to what you're trying to kind of like actively market at the time. I think that's a really strategic way of just dealing with marketing if you have a multifaceted business. So next set of tips is kind of on planning out / things to do before you start filming your reels. So I, again, like I've mentioned, would really recommend having audios saved or ideas saved for reels so that you're not starting from scratch when you go to record. To block out some time to film. Like, I try to put something on the calendar for once a month. That's kind of the frequency that I currently use to film new reels. Because that way at the beginning of the month I kind of know what it is I'm marketing for that month, and it's like very easy for me to carve out like 2 hours every single month, as opposed to like 30 minutes or an hour every single Monday, like every single week to do it. But that's just the consistency and like time frame that works really well for me. So like play around with this. Like if you decide to try and do it weekly but it's not working well, maybe try like bi-weekly or every month, or maybe even like every quarter. You just want to dedicate a chunk of time to filming all your reels for the quarter. So block out some time to film, because it puts your brain in the mindset of like, okay, this is something that I'm going to do, so I'm mentally preparing for this task. And it's a really good way to make sure that you, one, are able to batch all of them, so you're not like constantly thinking of filming new reels while you're trying to do other work throughout the week. That's really hard for your brain to switch between different types of tasks. And two, it makes sure that you can kind of block out distractions to the best of your ability. I know that there's people watching this that are like moms and like you're working from home, so that's kind of hard to do, especially if we're like still in the pandemic. But minimizing distractions I think is totally possible, and it's helpful when you kind of have that filming time on the books to minimize distractions. Again, reels are not meant to be like super perfect. Also, here's key, and like video is not meant to be super perfect. So if you can't completely minimize distractions, I think it's also totally okay, because you're really sharing like the behind the scenes more raw. It doesn't have to be as perfectly curated. So I just want to give you the permission, if you don't feel like you have the right space for creating reels, like don't let that be just a limitation that you put on yourself. Like let it be messy, let it be imperfect. Something is better than nothing. That's like a motto I always have to try and live by, especially when it comes to video marketing and filming videos. So I think it's helpful if you try to minimize like loud noises. Something that I've noticed for my YouTube videos, which like if you want to incorporate this into reels, be my guest, is like turning off the AC. I actually currently have my heat running and I can hear it, and my phone doesn't usually pick it up, but my laptop, if I'm filming, usually will. So if you have things that you know about, so like Wednesday, the lawnmowers are always here on Wednesday, and that's something that my phone does pick up the audio on. So you want to like kind of plan around that as much as you possibly can. Keegan's about to like rip down a holiday decoration, so I'm kind of watching him. Yep, there we go. See, that happens, but it's fine. It's just real life as it is. So another thing to think about is like, if it's not perfect, it's also okay. That's the whole reason why TikTok kind of blew up. Instagram has gone the way of being super curated, but TikTok is a little bit more real life. And so just like allow yourself the permission for it not to be perfect. I think that's like one of the biggest reels tips I could probably give you. Another thing for planning out filming is, if you're going to batch film, which I so highly recommend, make sure that you have some outfits or tops that you maybe want to like switch into, just like laid out for you. So I'll usually lay out like 3 to 4 different tops, and I'll film 3 to 4 reels in one, and then switch into another one, just so that I'm not wearing the same exact thing in all of my reels. I don't have the largest wardrobe, so I probably repeat things all the time, but it gives it some variety, which is just like nice to have. Some filming tips now, like ways of filming your reels. Number one, I do think it's kind of helpful to have a ring light. That's kind of what I have on right now, and I can kind of show you the difference between here's it off versus here's it on. And mine has like different like settings. I don't think it really matters what setting you use, but I think it does help like visually make your videos 100 times better. More filming tips. I talked about good lighting, showed you kind of what it looked like with the ring light on versus off. When you can schedule, you can kind of minimize distractions as much as possible. Again, TikTok Reels, they're meant to be imperfect, so don't let like having something distracting in the background stop you from filming anything at all. Just a really good like practical example of this is I know that the lawnmowers come every single Wednesday and they kind of go on for hours, and it is really loud and you can actually hear it when I'm recording audio. And so I make sure I don't film on Wednesdays because I just know that that's going to be kind of distracting. Something audio wise that I didn't realize is actually super distracting. You might be able to hear it in the past video is turn your AC or heat off. I can actually hear the hum in the back of some of the videos, and I have to remind myself to turn it off whenever I go to film anything. A good way to like detract from like noise audio issues is to like connect a pair of Bluetooth AirPods or something like that while filming. If you want like minimized distractions in the background in terms of noise. And then my last tip for this is to have a couple of outfits just laid out that you can switch into. You don't have to do this. I just personally prefer to do this because I create anywhere between like 12 to 15 reels at a time. I'll keep the same pants on, but I'll just switch out my top after I film every like 3 to 4 reels, just so it's like I'm not wearing the same shirt in every single reel that I ever share ever. Filming tips, again, I really want to emphasize and stress that done is better than perfect. Like, done is better than perfect. Your reels do not have to be perfect. My reels are not perfect. Some of the people and the reels that I love the most are imperfect, and I kind of love that about them. So don't let that stop you from posting. Make sure as you're doing different takes of reels, and before you go to post it online, make sure you save it to your camera roll. There's been so many times when I was trying to lip sync a reel and the first take was so much better than my last take, and I end up posting that first take. Also, especially when reels first came out, like people would log out of Instagram and log back in and saw that they like lost all their drafts. So especially even if you like keep something just as a draft and you're not posting it right away, save it to your camera roll. What else? Oh, okay, so I try to keep, like, when I'm making my reels, I just create my reels. I don't do anything else. Like, I don't go back and add in, like, text on top of them right away, and I don't add the captions for them right away. I prefer to do that later on in the process, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So I really try to just focus on, like, doing one repeated task over and over again so I avoid context switching, which like your brain just gets in a good groove and a good pattern and flow whenever you're doing the same thing over and over again. So tips for, last filming tip that I have is if you can break your reel into different chunks. So if there's like a lip sync reel that's like 30 seconds long, it's really, really hard to memorize all of that all at one time. And so instead I really recommend like do them in like 3 to 4 chunks where you just, or not even 3 to 4 chunks, 3 to 4 second chunks, and record it that way. And you can like switch up the angles that you use because that actually keeps it more visually interesting for people to watch your reel. Sorry about this whole hair situation going on. This is real life behind the scenes. My hair looks like this all the time. Okay, so in terms of editing, I really don't have a whole ton of editing tips. I try to keep my editing very, very quick and easy. At some point I was using InShot, which is an app to edit, but I didn't like having to like switch to another platform, save it to my phone, and then re-upload it into Instagram. So I really just prefer just to edit in the Reels like interface as it is. And the only thing that I really do to my videos is I'll add in like the captions over the video. And in terms of doing that, like I try to make sure I don't have like hella captions because then it's hard to like set the duration and stuff. Something that it took me a really long time to learn is you have to tap on the wording at the bottom to select it, and then you can fix the duration of it. But because it's like your phone, it's kind of hard to set the duration super, super well. I let it be like just kind of like if it's not super spot on, I let it go. Like that's fine. I try to get it as close as I possibly can within just taking a few minutes to edit it. I don't want editing to become like a whole like 15-minute task for me. Two things that I do recommend in terms of like consistency, and again, doing these as efficiently as possible, is like, one, use the same type of text every single time, unless you want to be funky and play around with it. And two, use like 1 to 2 different like brand colors and just stick with that. In a really perfect world, I would have like my hex colors saved to my phone somehow and make sure that I'm grabbing like the correct color every single time, but I just try to get like the correct-ish shade of blue. Is it perfect every single time? No. I don't think I even use blue. I think I just stick with the signature white and black because it's faster. But if you want to do that for branding and consistency, like keep it really simple. Couple tips. Whenever you go to actually like, if you finished your reel, you finished editing it, you added in your caption. Another really quick tip is I use voice to text to write out all of the captions while I'm editing the reel. And then I type out my Instagram captions on my computer because I'm just so much faster that way. But the voice to text actually saves me a lot of time because I have kind of fat thumbs, and it's just a little bit easier to just like fix the typos rather than like type all of it out after using voice to text. So that's kind of what I prefer. And then the last filming tip that I have is that I use Lauren Fair's story preset. I think it's called Everyday by Lauren Fair. Fair is Fair. And I'll use that to film if I don't have my ring light or if it's like really dark while I'm filming, because it just brightens it up and it looks really similar to my photography work. So tips for sharing your reels. So one, make sure you always post it to your grid. This helps out with the algorithm. Also two, post it to your stories right after you post it. And even like feel free to post your reels to your stories, like not just the day that you post them, but like throughout that week. Or you can go back and like reshare a past reel to your stories again. Or you can even like repurpose it if it's been a couple months, like download that reel, re-upload it and repost it, because that'll still get you in front of new eyes while you're posting your reel, and it's like easier because you don't have to create a new reel every single time. You can just have like a growing batch of ones that you aim to like repost every so often if you only want to make like 1 to 2 reels a month or something like that. Another really quick filming tip is to try to like go into the mindset of each month or each shoot being like, okay, I want to make sure that I get some behind the scenes footage during this one shoot or during this one wedding. I like to set a reminder on my phone through the reminders app to be like, take behind the scenes video that like goes off during the shoot or right before the shoot, so I remember to take that video, because I'm not the queen of behind the scenes. Like it takes some prompting and some reminding for me to remember to do that, but that way I have like more engaging video to share that's like actual behind the scenes stuff. Another tip in terms of sharing is if Pinterest is a really big traffic source for you, make sure that you share your reels to Pinterest. Short form video clips are doing really, really well on there right now, and they get a lot of engagement and traction on there. So make sure you're working smarter and not harder and repurposing your reels on Pinterest as well. And then my last tip in terms of sharing is always share it to your grid. And if you feel like the cover or something does not match your grid aesthetic, one, people don't really care about the grid aesthetic as much anymore. And two, you can always remove it from your grid later if it is really, really bothering you. But it's best to like post it to the grid than not post it to the grid when you're first going to post your reel. All right, last set of tips for you guys. I keep looking down because my notes are down here, but I really just wanted to point you to a couple of resources. So the two people that I follow most closely for Reels education are Stephanie Case, Case is K-A-S-E, and Natasha Coyle, and Coyle is C-O-Y-L-E. Stephanie Case has a ton of freebies that are related to Reels. So she has like a Reels cover template. She also has a shop product that's like 100 different Reels ideas, complete with like the audio and like kind of like ideas of what to do with the reel that are really, really helpful. She also just came out with a Reels course, and Natasha Coyle has a ton of Reels that help you make Reels. So go check out her Instagram because that's a really good resource. Stephanie has a ton of YouTube videos on Reels, so that's also a really good resource. And then Natasha also has a couple of shop products. So she has a Reels bootcamp course and a couple more Reels related things in her shop. I am by no means the video marketing expert. I would like happily defer to the two of them if you guys ask me a question and I don't know the answer to it. But if you do have any questions, be sure to drop them in the Vault Facebook group. I would be more than happy to answer them in there. I'm gonna try and see if I can do like a behind the scenes of me actually filming Reels for a month, like batch filming my Reels. I might have to like record it on my computer or something so that I can use my phone to actually film. And I'll see if I can do like some screen recordings or something as I'm filming so you can kind of see what it is I'm doing in real time. So let me know if that would be really helpful, and I'll catch you in the next tutorial.